Hello there. Welcome to Speaking of Business. I'm your host, Nancy Boyle. Today we're going to be honoring the contributions that small businesses make to our community. Joining me on the first half of the show are Stephanie Royal with the Small Business Development Center and Ralph Ross with the U.S. Small Business Administration. Welcome.
Thank you.
Stephanie, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about SBDC and what you do there?
The Small Business Development Center, we're housed at the University of North Florida, and we really are here to help small businesses start, grow, and succeed.
Okay. Ralph, tell us what you do at SBA.
I'm the Deputy Director, but the SBA has been basically the only federal agency devoted to starting and expanding small businesses. We've been doing this since the Eisenhower administration. We've been doing Small Business Week for over 50 years now.
Okay, and that's what we're here to talk about is the Small Business Week celebration, which is an annual event co-hosted by the Small Business Development Center and the Small Business Administration. So, Stephanie, why do you do Small Business Week?
This is the 19th year that the Small Business Development Center has been involved with it, and we really do it because it's a great opportunity to put some positive light into what's going on in our small business community. We recognize our some champions and some people who are doing some really great things in the small business community, and it's just a really nice time to do that.
Okay, and Ralph, certainly SBA participates. Why is it that you guys participate?
We're famous for our loans. We do a lot of kind of technical things through the year involving government contracting and lending, but we like to just stop once a year and have fun. Just kind of try to make sure everybody understands what an important part of the economy this is. Over 60% of the new jobs that get created in this country are in the small business sector. I mean, this is one of the engines driving the economy. And we try to make sure people don't forget that. Plus, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, every year, Janice, I don't know how she does it. I mean, this is Janice Donaldson from the SBDC. She works hard at finding new and fascinating speakers. And we are almost never disappointed. But this event gets its own momentum. I mean, people expect to have fun at these things. I mean, they show up, it's a crowded room, there's energy there. The speakers are usually wonderful, and the other thing is, the other wonderful part about these is just the winners, the small business winners, when they tell their stories, they are wonderful. I mean, there's just something compelling about the risk that these companies have taken, what they've been through, what it's meant to get to where they are now, and they just love it, and they love kind of telling their stories. So a lot of what we do is within reason. I mean, we're good at getting people out on time. I mean, this is a lunch. It's not an all-day affair, you know. And so there's always a discipline in terms of getting this thing ended on time. But it's just a very well spent couple of hours.
Well, I'm going to talk about the speaker in a minute, but right now I want to talk about the awards. What qualifies somebody to win an award?
Well, we look at a lot of things. Some of it's innovation, some of it's overcoming adversity, some of it is each one of these things, each one of these nominations is its own kind of dramatic story, and people risked everything. They took everything they had. They threw it into this enterprise. They threw themselves into it, and sometimes they barely made it. and they overcame, and in the end, they're doing okay. I mean, we check financial statements. I mean, we check growth. We check to make sure that we've got indeed a solid, growing, successful enterprise there. But a lot of it is just the history, and some of it is what are they doing now that they're kind of successful? What are they doing also for the community? And what you see with a lot of successful entrepreneurs is they coach other businesses, they support little league teams. There's always this other community involvement that tends to come with entrepreneurs.
Well, now we've got some awards for the businesses themselves, acknowledging their small business leader and things like that. But then we also have champion awards. So what's a little bit different about the champion awards as opposed to the small business leader awards?
I would say for champions, there is a wonderful system that we have for supporting the people who are taking this huge leap into entrepreneurship. The small business development centers are one of the most important of these, of course. We've got other people around town. There'll be CPAs, there'll be lawyers, there'll be bankers, we see people who are helping facilitate this process of bringing new companies online. In Jacksonville, every year, we get about a net 800 new companies that get started every year, just in this metropolis. And there are a lot of people working to make that happen. So we try to recognize some of that other work that people do to make this process happen.
Okay. Stephanie, let me go back to you. And let's talk about the event itself. You know, where is it, when is it, et cetera?
It's on May 25th. It's starting at 11:30, and it'll go until 1:30. We'll get everybody out on time. But it is at the UNF University Center, and we expect a very good crowd, and we're very happy about our speaker this year.
Let's tell us about the speaker.
Her name is Kelly McDonald, and she is an expert on cultural diversity, cultural and diverse marketing. And she just wrote a book, and it came out this week, in fact. It's called How to Market to People Not Like You. So she's got a great message to share with people about the untapped markets of people who maybe you're not so familiar with culturally, and the dollar that they can spend. So I'm looking forward to hear what she has to say and the knowledge she can share.
Now, is there a fee for this?
Yes. It's $35 for an individual seat, or we have tables of 8 available as well for $350. So come get lunch.
So if some company out there is interested in bringing the gang to this event to hear the speaker and acknowledge the awardees, they can contact you?
Absolutely. You can call the Small Business Development Center at 620-2476, area code 904, or our website has lots of information as well, and that's www.sbdc.unf.edu.
Okay, and you have sponsors as well.
We do. We love our sponsors, the Jacksonville Business Journal, First Atlantic Bank, High Street Capital, and Wachovia Wells Fargo Company are supporting this event. We're very thankful for that.
Well, because these speakers are really good and they don't come cheap.
Absolutely. We spend a lot of time trying to find the right speaker every year. So.
Yeah. Well, good. Ralph, you're also at this event honoring some of the SBA lenders, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, lending has been, especially since the bank crisis in October 2008, it's been such an up and down thing, and we're starting to stabilize. Seemed like we crashed all at once. We're bringing our lending back kind of incrementally, and we've got some good lenders that we're going to honor this year that are stepping up there, finding the good borrowers, funding the good borrowers, and we're trying to regrow the economy there.
Now, I would imagine anybody can come to this event. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
The more the
merrier. Okay, good. Ralph, I kind of want to go back to you because obviously SBA is in the business of guaranteeing loans, working with bankers, making capital more accessible to the business community. So what tips might you have to somebody who's out there who's maybe had a little tough time over the last couple of years that, maybe is almost given up? What do they need to do?
I think first of all, get help, get some coaching, get to the small business development centers, tweak your business plan. I mean, you're going to have to revisit that plan and make it realistic. what we call the credit boxes are not as big as they were in 2007. So it's going to be harder for anybody to get credit just based on the bank examining situation and how the bankers are being regulated. Not all of the banks are the same. And the other advice I'd have is once you are really clear on what you want, on how you're going to pay it back, then shop. Because some banks will be nice, but they really don't have the money to lend you anyway. And you may have to try a few different places before you're going to get to that bank that you fit with.
Okay, good advice. Stephanie, we're going to go to break here in a minute, so why don't you give the contact information one more time, please?
904-620-2476 or www.sbdc.unf.edu.
Well, great. I want to thank you both for being here and wish you much success at the event. You in the audience, don't go away because we're going to talk to some of the award winners on our second half of our show. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. If you would like more information about today's show or you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, please write to Speaking of Business, care of SBDC, 12,000 Alumni Drive, Jacksonville, Florida 32224, or visit our website at www.sbdc.unf.edu. Welcome back to Speaking of Business. Again, I'm your host, Nancy Boyle. And on the second half of our show, we're going to be talking to a couple of award winners. So joining me are Kathy Murphy, who is the president and CEO of Comfort Keepers, and David Moorfield, who is the president of DAK Resources. So welcome. And I might say both veterans, so thank you for your service to our country. We'll get that up front.
Oh, thank you.
Kathy, why don't you tell us a little bit about Comfort Keepers?
Well, Comfort Keepers is a company that's a licensed home health agency, and we provide services so seniors can age in their homes and age with dignity and grace. So we have a staff of caregivers who can go anywhere from 4 hours to 24/7 to the resident's home or wherever they may reside. It might be an assisted living facility or even being with them in the hospital.
That's great because so many of us are in that position where our parents are aging and you're kind of the sandwich generation. You have aging parents and you still have kids coming up.
Absolutely.
So it makes it challenging. So good. David, tell us about DAK.
DAK Resources is a talent acquisition for hire for profit. We focus in, our primary focus is to help the veterans and their families first to find suitable employment, be it locally or nationally or globally. In addition to that, we assist the private sectors as well, and we also compete for state, local, and federal government contracts.
Well, and I think that's so important because you have people coming back from service and it's tough finding a job. And so I think that's really wonderful what you do.
Thanks, Ms. Nancy.
All right, so award winners, congratulations, by the way. Kathy,
Thank
you are
you.
the, I want to get this right, the Women in Business Champion of the Year. And David, you are the Veteran Small Business Champion of the Year. So I want to talk to each of you a little bit about what you're doing to champion either women or veterans. So Kathy, I'm going to start with you ladies first.
Well, you know, I worked real hard to get my business at a certain point, and then I had the opportunity to really take in a lot of the local resources that are available, including the Small Business Development Center, the Jacksonville Women's Business Center, and a few of the other organizations. And I felt that it was really time to sort of give back to those organizations as well. And so I've participated in supporting some of the initiatives that they've had, served on the advisory board for the Jacksonville Women's Business Center. I know the Small Business Development Center puts on a program called It's Her Business, which is mentoring high school young women and giving them some inspiration and encouragement about starting businesses. And actually, currently, I'm the president of the Women Business Owners of North Florida.
Well, that keeps you busy. How
It
do you
does.
have time to run your business?
Well, sometimes it's a little bit, you know, I do get sort of homesick not being at the business perhaps as much as I sometimes really want to be. But there's always enough time. There's 24 hours in the day, and it's just a matter of sleeping less, I guess.
Now, how long have you actually had your business?
I opened my business in 2002. And
2002. Okay, so you're coming up on 10 years.
I am. I
Yeah,
am.
congratulations.
I'm going to celebrate that next year.
Well, and I think for a lot of businesses such as yours, you kind of go through those early stages, and if you're smart, you get help where you need it.
Absolutely.
And then it's a matter of, it just makes you feel good to give back to see somebody else who is just starting their pattern of growth. and
Exactly.
kind of helping them. So that's
Exactly.
exciting. So David, tell us about what you've been doing for the veterans.
What we've been doing for the actual veterans is, like myself, I came out of the Marine Corps and retired in 2006. I did a little bit of consulting, but at the same time I was an adjunct professor for University of Phoenix. I finished my master's on active duty with the University of Phoenix. So one thing I wanted to do was give back to my actual university at that particular point in time. I got a degree in business administration. I went to the Small Business Development Center where I met Kathy Hagan, who helped me start orchestrating my business plan, my financial projections, and everything for DAK resources. As we begin to develop, because we only been in business for less than 3 years officially when we had our grand opening, and just over 3 years since we opened our doors the 1st of December. In addition to that, my business partner at that time wanted to help me establish our company, and that's where we came in with DAK Resources, because I was told to identify the companies as their ownership and use a name for that particular matter. In that case, from there, we went to work, where we was actually placing veterans back into the workforce area. Currently, right now, with our company, we have 50% of them are veterans or married to veterans, and the other 50% are private sector. One thing that we do a little bit different is we work with the Wounded Warrior Project here in Jacksonville, Florida. The corporate office is here. John Milia and I, we served together in the Marine Corps, and then we also work with the Wounded Warriors to Work program as well. In addition to that, I work with the veterans representatives at WorkSource and helping them. I get because of my training that I received from Kathy Hagan and the Small Business Development Center, I also help veterans and inform them, hey, this is available for you, and if you need assistance in getting your company off the ground and running, I'm here to help. My organization, my team, every time a veteran comes in, I normally ask them, what do you want to do? Well, sir, I can do anything. I said, I understand that, but what you really want to do? The first question I ask a potential employee is this: you already worked 8 hours a day, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, your boss calls, what's your job? What type of job would that be? Sometimes they can't give me the answers, and sometimes they didn't. I had a Marine officer come to me and ask me, he was looking for a job, and I said, what do you really want to do? He says, sir, I want to open a gym on the north side of town. So I introduced him to my entire team, and that includes the Small Business Development Center, and in addition to that, to the Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce. I joined the Chamber as an entrepreneur membership, and last month I joined as a trustee membership. So that's how we got started.
What are you finding might be particular challenges for the veterans that you're working with? What are some of the things that they're trying to overcome?
Ms. Nancy, that's a question that I see it varies each and every day. I see some veterans are trying to struggle to get through day-to-day living opportunities. So we work with the city of Jacksonville to get them assistance down there at the Veterans Affairs office down there. Some of the challenges is they're looking at where do we go from here. We just completed 1, 2, 3, 4 combat tours. Sir, what do we do next? And I said, what do you want to do? And what fun do you want to do? You defended everybody's freedom for 4 years to 30 years, so what do you want to do? Now it's your turn to get back to the community and how you want to prosper in that manner. And I tell them, dreams without work is imagination. And that's what I share with them. One of the challenges that I had was I grew up here in Atlantic Beach and Ponte Vedra Beach, so I came home. A lot of people that I knew here in business were close to the cemetery, as we say, or some of them already went finally home. So I would have to network myself around the Jacksonville area. And being away from Jacksonville for 23 years, it's grown quite a bit.
Oh my gosh.
You know, especially out at the beach. When I grew up on the beach, there was 12,000 people. Now there's 125,000 out there on the beach. You know, we used to fight over sand dunes. Now they fight over property lines.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would think it would be difficult coming from the military that is so bureaucratic, where you're following orders all the time, to go from that environment to where you have to be entrepreneurial and you have to, I guess it depends on what level of the service, and both of you having been in this service maybe can explain this to me. You know, if you're at a certain level, you're used to giving orders, but at other levels, you're used to taking orders. And I just wonder how difficult that is to go from that environment into an environment where now you're in charge of this business. Or do you find it difficult for people to make that transition, either one of you? Or?
Well, when I made the transition, I think it's really industry specific.
Okay.
I didn't go straight into being a business owner, but I went into a position of senior management in a corporation, actually a company of the Mayo Foundation. And I remember my boss at the time asking me, what's the difference of being in the military and being in our organization? And I remember saying to him at the time, because it was healthcare, there was no difference. That I was still dealing with resources, I was still dealing with clinical issues, I was still dealing with budgets. The only real difference was I wasn't wearing a uniform on a daily basis.
Okay.
So in the healthcare industry, you know, it wasn't that much of a change, at least I didn't think so. But again, it was going into a senior management leadership position and not running my own business.
And of course, you're dealing more with a wider variety of veterans, so.
Right. For us, it was a little bit different for myself because I was going into, I started out as a private in the Marine Corps and I worked my way all the way up to major. So I had a different perspective on the enlisted side as well as the officer side. I was up for lieutenant colonel, but I ran my retirement before I heard the actual promotion because the difference in compensation between major and lieutenant colonel was marginal. So my second combat tour was a little rough than expected. So when I came back here to actually start my business, they shared with me at the beginning on the Small Business Development Center that as a business owner, you're going to be a jack of all trades and you're going to be a master of none. And so that aspect of it for me was actually true because I didn't do what Miss Kathy did. I did just the opposite. I started the actual business. Since we've been growing and developing the actual business, I've placed certain people within our organizations where I have to trust them to be able to do their jobs, and I have to fall back on my leadership style as a Marine officer and say, okay, I can supervise this organization, but at the same time, too, I need to be able to move it forward. My chief operating officer, Tom Turner, told me, Dave, you want to be the tractor or you want to be the tractor driver? And I told him I want to be the tractor driver. He says, then that's what you got to do. And so that's how I'm learning and everything like that. A lot of skills aspect that I learned from the university, the finance aspect, be able to manage the accounting aspect, decision making, both through the university and through the military is dramatic. And then some of the core competencies that we learned in the service: commitment to the cause, not to oneself; the honor that you serve to others and not to yourself. And those core values that I carry on with us even today. And the other thing is this: a Marine will never quit, and that's the sheer determination. If you know your dream, and you're working your dream and you're putting it to the test, what you do in the long term is the commitment, the results will be job satisfaction and someone receiving that actual employment. And that's a rewarding aspect of the whole business as well.
Well, and I think those core values are really important because you can learn how to thread a needle. I mean, you know what I mean? You can learn some of those job-specific activities. Before we run out of time, Kathy, I wanted to ask you too, what are some of the challenges that you've seen with women-owned businesses that they're experiencing? Or are we finally becoming enlightened to where it's not quite the way it was 20 years ago?
You really started off with exactly what I was going to say. I think the tides are really turning. And I think because of some of the characteristics of many women being able to multitask, sometimes, as you said, you're sort of a master of so many things, particularly when you start out, that maybe women might have a little slight edge over men in that perspective. You know, yet a lot of women come to becoming a business owner, and maybe it's the first time that they've actually had to earn a paycheck, so to speak, outside the house, or maybe they're raising a family as a single parent, so they may have those things they have to balance as well. I think sometimes women might get emotionally attached to a good idea that they think they want to turn into a business. And I had a lady I was speaking to just recently, and came into my office and wanted some suggestions, and she was happy that she was going around and asking people, and everybody thought it was a good idea. And what I suggested is that when she talks to people like that, ask them, okay, it's a good idea, would you pay for the service? Because at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah,
and lots of
absolutely.
us have good ideas. And sometimes when you get emotionally attached to what you think might be a great business, you have a tendency to overlook the reality, look at the reimbursement, because as David knows, at the end of the day, I always say, I still have those electrical bills that I have to pay for and rent. So I think we've come a long way. There was a recent study, I'm sure you're familiar with it, that the Jacksonville Women's Business Center launched, I think, back in 2007. And they found that for some reason, and I think I've got the answer to those, that nationally, 3% of women business owners grossed $1 million sales. However, in the Jacksonville area, that percentage was not 3%, it was 13%.
Wow.
So one asks, why have women become very successful business owners in Jacksonville? And certainly, from my perspective, there are reasons, because there's the resources that are available, all the resources that the Small Business Development Center provides, the resources through the Jacksonville Regional Chamber of Commerce, which includes the Jacksonville Women's Business Center. I was able to participate in the Athena PowerLink program. That's only licensed by, I think, 27 places in the United States.
Yeah, it's not all over the place.
And the
that's for
Jacksonville
sure.
Women's Business Center is one of those licensing places. So I was able to participate in that year-long program. Certainly we have SCORE, SBA, Beaver Street Enterprises. There are so many resources here available that it is truly one of the best places for somebody to become a small business owner.
Well, I think what's interesting, because I sometimes travel around the state, Jacksonville is somewhat unique in that all of those resources work together.
Yes.
They collaborate,
Yes.
and they
That's right.
complement each other.
Yes.
Whereas in other areas, some of them feel that they're in competition and they
Absolutely.
don't work as well together. So I think when you, and you probably find this in your businesses as well, when you're looking at the client or you're looking at the end result, it's not so much how we get there as long as the end result is achieved in a positive way.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, we just ran out of time. So I want to
Okay.
thank you both for being here, and congratulations.
Thank
you both
you.
do wonderful, wonderful work. So we're very proud of
Thank
you as
you.
award winners.
Thank you, Nancy.
And thank you for joining us today. And come back next time, and we'll be speaking of business. Bye now.